Alright guys, welcome to the show. This is Higher Frequencies episode number 13, Crystal Skulls Part 1. We have a special guest with us today who is well knowledged on the subject and has a long history involved with it. Everybody welcome Christopher Timms, live from us on Skype out of Florida. How's it going, Tim? Christopher,
it's all right.
It's all right.
I'm doing really well. Thank you, Nick. It's great to be here with you.
It's definitely a pleasure to have you. I don't think there's too many other people who could be who's well knowledgeable on the subject. So it's definitely good to have you and have someone well knowledgeable on it.
For sure.
Well, I'm glad to be here.
All right, so since you are the one with all the knowledge here, I guess we'll get started. You wanna walk everyone through maybe starting off with the prophecies that the ancient prophecy part of the skulls.
Well, what do you think about taking just a couple minutes and talking about what the original crystal skulls actually are, and what the what the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull really is?
Yeah, sure we can.
And, because many people today, guys, I know, confuse the ancient skulls, the original skulls, with the ones that are being made today. You know, lapidary shops can knock out really beautiful skulls that people can buy and have in their homes.
Yeah,
right.
But it's not quite the same.
Of different material. It is not the same animal at all. Okay, so, and I've experienced a lot of both, and so the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull, as it's originally known, is the skull that I am most familiar with. And that skull was found in 1933 in the jungles of Belize. And it was found in the bottom of a Mayan well.
Oh, wow.
In the center of a pyramid. And Anna Mitchell Hedges herself, who I was very good friends with for 1988 to 1996,
Wow.
was there in 1933 as a little girl on summer vacation, guys. If you can imagine this, she's on summer vacation with her stepfather, who's like the real Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Her grandfather was the character that Indiana Jones was actually fashioned after for the movies.
That's right.
I mean, that's just amazing.
That's too cool.
And so she's down there in Belize in these jungles. I mean, there's 20-some foot crocodiles, there's big snakes everywhere, and there's all these ruins that are overgrown with jungle. No one's been there for generations, and they've got locals there that are cutting their way through the jungle, and they're coming upon these mounds that he knows are pyramids.
Yeah.
So he begins to clear them all out, and Anna, being a little girl, is playing around. You know, and not only is it not particularly safe, you know, with all the things that are going on there, but it's just an amazing adventure.
Yeah.
So she finds her way in, and she sees this thing sparkling inside a pyramid that probably no one's been in hundreds of years. And so she looks in the bottom of the well, and she sees this thing sparkling, and they get workers, other guys, to go in, and they rope themselves down into the well, which is full of spring water, and so they're snorkeling down by rope into this well, and they come up with the top part of this skull. And then 2 days later, they come up with the jawbone. It's a detachable jawbone.
Oh, wow.
2 pieces. Right. Now, so guys, this is a totally different animal than stuff that's made at the lapidary shop, you know, and sold. Those are beautiful, and they have certainly a presence and a power to them. I'm not diminishing them. But these are different animals, the original skulls.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, upon examination, scientific examination of the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull, It's an exact anatomical copy of a human skull, a female skull, with the detachable jawbone, the mandible, and it's made of optical grade quartz. And optical grade quartz means that you can put a newspaper on one side and you're on the other side of it, and you can read the newspaper.
Oh, sweet.
I mean, this thing is, it is sweet. It is an unbelievable thing. And there are amazing, delicate inclusions inside the quartz, and just there's whole worlds in there to explore, which we can talk about. But what's important here is that upon examination, scientific examination by Hewlett-Packard of this skull under high power microscopy, different ways they have of analyzing the skull, their summation, which is public information, anybody can read this. They say that there are no polish marks anywhere on the skull, like from lapidary polishing, anything, no cutting marks. And basically they said, and it's a quote, "This should not exist."
Yeah.
Hewlett-Packard said this should not exist.
Yeah.
But yet here we are.
Exactly.
And then Richard C. Hoagland, ex-NASA scientist and researcher, analyzed the skull himself, and with newer technologies, just in the last 5-8 years, finds that the quartz that the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull is made from didn't originate on Earth. Why? You know that because the way that the lattice, we have DNA. The quartz crystals, minerals don't have DNA. They have what's called a lattice, where the molecules ratchet around and grow. Okay, and ours are all privy to gravity because we've never been out of gravity.
That's great.
But so it grows against gravity, moving up. But the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull grew spherically. The lattice grew spherically in all directions, in all 6 directions, up, down, front, back, left, right. Does it make sense, guys?
Yeah.
And everybody. And what this means is that it was from non-terrestrial sourcing. And Richard Hoagland said that it was probably artificially generated quartz, propagated in space. Could be over a couple hundred years of growing the quartz before it was fashioned into the skull.
Wow.
So that's just wild. And that by itself separates it from any of the modern skulls. It separates it really from any of the other ancient skulls. There are other ancient skulls that are authentic and that have amazing properties to them. I've experienced Max as well.
Yeah.
But the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull is the 13th. And I think it's funny
really?
that you guys have me as the 13th episode. When the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull is the 13th skull. It's
it is the 13th?
Yes. That's the 13th. Other people may tell you different things, but my experiences with the skull, 100 hours of private time with the skull from 1988 to 1996, plus the event that you guys saw called the Celestial Beacon on video. The skull just revealed so much to me. And so there's a little bit of the background on the skull, and now we can talk about skull prophecies, because I know that's what Nick asked me about initially. I didn't want to go too far, but I away from the topic, but I wanted at the same time to people to understand what it is that we're talking about here.
Do you know anything about the other 12 skulls, or how many's been discovered or known?
Yes, I do. Some of them have been found, and Max is an authentic skull, authentic ancient skull. I've experienced Max. My wife really enjoyed Max. There was a great kind of a love feeling with Max.
Nice.
And she just got this great comfort and a feeling that all is well being around Max. It was just wonderful. And I enjoyed Max too. It's a very different energy than the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull. The Anna Mitchell Hedges skull, I think, for me, it grabbed me. It just took me. and over a period of years of experiences with the skull, trained me inwardly to have that crescendo of an event that we called the celestial beacon. That was the culmination of all the years of experiences, the customized geometry, the specific sounds, the tunings of the bowls, everything that we set up for that event for the skull. So many of the original skulls, Alex, have not been found, and they don't want to be found. People, part of the false interpretation of the prophecy is that the skulls all have to come together. The skulls all have to be brought together physically in the same proximity to set up a crystal grid, the crystal star, and all this kind of stuff.
They just have to be on Earth.
The crystals, if they want to be found, they'll be found. The crystals are an innate intelligence, each of them unto themselves.
Yeah, I was reading that they could communicate.
You can be 6 inches away from the skull if it's buried underground, and you'd never know it unless something intuitively tries to grab you and says, put your hand down here and dig right here. You'd walk right through it if it was in the desert or in the jungle, right?
Yeah.
For instance, that skull drew Anna Mitchell Hedges right to it as a little girl. There were 2 windows in this pyramid in Belize, east and west. And at that time of day, at that time of the year, on that day, she happened to walk into the pyramid, just happened to walk into the pyramid, and happened to look into the well. Now, 1 hour later, and the sun would have been different in the sky, and she wouldn't have seen any sunlight in the well, and they never would have thought anything of it. Just another well.
So when they said that they used TNT to kind of blow up the pyramids and kind of renegade archaeology, that wasn't true?
You mean to find the crystal skull?
Yeah.
Oh no, not the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull. Or Max was given by a lama to the lady that has Max, Tibetan lama, smuggled it out of Tibet when the Chinese invaded, and so she had it with her, and then it was given by the lama to this lady. The lady had it, and then has been displaying it and bringing it around for people. But no, none of that is real. It was an actual archaeological dig. Now, he was a renegade, kind of a break the rules archaeologist, and they smuggled artifacts out, of Belize, which was illegal at the time. But what they did when they found the skull, Alex, is that Anna found the skull, and Anna gave it to the Mayan elders right there at the clan in Belize, right there. And the Mayan elders celebrated for about 3 days. They had bonfires. They were telling the stories and all the renderings about the skull, legends of the skull. And then the Mayan elder gave it back to Anna Mitchell Hedges and her stepfather, and said it's for you to take it so the rest of the world can know about the skull.
Wow. So I've heard so much misinformation about it that the real story is just, it's a breath of fresh air.
That's the TNT thing is ridiculous. You can go to Belize right now, and you can see it's in a site called Lubantoon, and where they found the skull. And you can go there. You can walk in. There's been no TNT there. There's been no destruction there. It was excavated and opened up, and it's fine. It's fine.
I should have known better than listen to National Geographic anyway.
Well, hey, I can tell you guys a story about all that. I was contacted by the BBC in England to do a documentary on the crystal skulls, to be a part of a documentary. And I thought, cool, I'll do that. Yeah. So I went in and I did the documentary, and I was interviewed by this lady that seemed to be really respectful and really interested in what I was talking about. And boy, they cut and pasted and did all kinds of stuff with my section of the interview and the videos that I sent them. Took the time to send them all this material, and they made all of us look like idiots in
more proof.
in the BBC presentation.
Yeah. Yeah, the National
I was so
Geographic
excited
was
to see it come out, and then when it came out, I felt like I wanted to cry.
Yeah.
And so yes, pay no attention to all that kind of stuff. And because the agenda is either to mask the truth,
yes,
or to distort things, and there are a few of us like me, that are around and have been around with the skulls, with some of this ancient stuff, and really know the real story behind it, the actual story behind it.
Yeah, it's definitely hard to find any truthful information at the time. That's why
hard isn't even the word to explain it. It's almost impossible. It's so they water it down so much and twist it that you can't even come close to the actual story.
That's true. And there's a book that Anna Mitchell Hedges' father, the stepfather, the archaeologist, wrote, and you can get it. You can probably get it as a free PDF, and read it about their journeys, about what they did, about how they found the skull. It's called Danger, My Ally.
Oh, sweet.
Danger, My Ally.
Yeah.
And,
check it out for sure.
It's written in the languaging of that time, 1930s. But when you read the story, it's amazing the things that they went through.
Yeah, I bet.
The adventure that it was. I mean, he really was the Indiana Jones guy. So as you can imagine, if people can't even get the story straight about how the skull was revealed and brought to the world, how are they going to get anything about the prophecies of the skull?
Exactly.
Right.
So, well, what do you guys know about the prophecies of the skull? So let's start there, or the skulls, period, plural.
Well, most of everything that I've come to find out about them refers to the times that we're in now. 2012 was the end of an old era and ushered in the new era, the golden age, which I believe has everything to do with consciousness. And so from what I understand is the skulls are basically information, or more like maybe duplication of a soul. Maybe a soul lives in the skull that has information, and that they could communicate without being close to one another, like you were talking, like in a small circle with the one in the middle, just on Earth, period. They could communicate between themselves, and that finding them is supposed to help us and maybe boost up the consciousness, or unity consciousness, or where we're headed towards, is kind of what I found out about.
Right. Okay. All right. Let's go here with this. In the Sumerian tablets, which I'm trained in the Sumerian tablets by Zechariah Sitchin.
Oh, sweet.
I took his teacher training programs before he passed away. Amazing guy, right? And in the Sumerian tablets, it's translated that within the ascending and descending passages of the pyramid, it's called the Grand Hall. Excuse me. There are 12 chambers, little holes in the walls. Okay, and these carved out holes in the walls are very specific in size, and they're the same all the way down. There's 12 of them, and the Sumerian tablets say that the talking stones were in residence there in those 12 slots. The 13th, being the Hedges skull, was in the sarcophagus of the king's chamber. Okay.
I've heard of
until the initiate comes in to lay down in the sarcophagus. All right, then the initiate would hold the skull. So they in 2023 BC, and there's physical evidence verified by Los Alamos laboratories in New Mexico to prove this. There was a nuclear war in the Middle East, 2023 BC, guys. Okay, we can prove it by the nuclear decay they have measured in rocks that they took from the areas that they said that in the old maps, in the old texts, where this war happened, the war between gods and men, as it was called. So now, what happened, as there were nukes that were used, the gods, and it's written, the gods meaning the ancient ones, the Anunnaki, were so upset with what they had done that they decommissioned the pyramid, and they took the 12 skulls, 12 and 1, 13. They didn't say 13, they would say 12 and 1. They took 12 and 1, and they disseminated the skulls all over the world. They left them with the 12 tribes, clans. They left and went to different parts of the world. That's why there's some in Africa. There's some in the Yucatan for the Mayan and the Toltec. The Olmecs before them were caretakers of the skulls. And in different parts of the world, parts unknown. But the skulls are all placed in specific locations where each of them wanted to be. And the skulls talk to each other. They're in complete communion with each other. There's no loss or lack or need of anything. If a skull wants to be found or in someone's possession, like Max or like the Hedges skull, then it's going to find a way to manipulate the holograph here to put Anna Mitchell Hedges right there on summer vacation in the middle of Belize at the right time of day when that light's coming through that window looking into a well. I mean, the odds of that are 1,000,000 to 1. But yet it happened.
We don't do coincidences
here. The only
here.
way you can say that it happened. Pardon?
I said we don't do coincidences here. Everything happens for a reason.
Oh, no. No. It was all the skull saying, come on, find me, I'm right here, I'm ready to go with you. And in my friendship with Anna, she said that as a young girl, she was a Mayan priest, and she cared for the skull.
So that's previous
why
life
called to her again in this life to come and take the skull again. So as the skulls were scattered after the nuclear war, 2023 BC, then man fell. You know, we had the decline of Egypt, the fall of Sumeria. We had the beginning of the age of forgetfulness, the beginnings of the age of Pisces. And we were coming now to the awakening, as we know, in the dawning of the age of Aquarius. So the skulls are beginning to be heard once again. Their voices are beginning to be listened to. And part of that is why so many people are interested in having facsimiles of the skulls. Everybody wants a little skull of this, or rose quartz, or an amethyst, or a quartz skull, because there's a subconscious thing of the skulls are important. The skulls are important. And they do trigger and have an energy, even the ones that are made in modern time, unto themselves. You know, so
that's kind of what drawn us to it.
Isn't there?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I had no idea about the crystal skulls, guys. On my very first tour in Canada in 1988, after I was teaching, I taught all weekend. The man that coordinated for me for Ontario, Canada, said, I want to take you on a little adventure today. So we get in his car, and we drive about an hour and a half, and I'm thinking, man, I'd like to be resting. I just taught for 3 days straight, nonstop. And so we pull up in front of this house at the edge of Woodstock, not Pennsylvania, Canada, near, it's outside of Toronto, an hour or so. And we walk up the sidewalk, and this little old lady opens the door. And I thought, okay, David's brought me to see his grandmother or something. You know, okay, this is nice, but this isn't really what I wanted to do today. And then I started to feel these tingles all over my body. And when we walked in the door, I turned to the left, and here's the crystal skull sitting on her coffee table right next to a whole thing of potpourri that all the little old ladies used to have back in that time. And it's sitting there on a coffee table. And I'm thinking, oh my God, this is this. And then David just looked at me and said, yep, that's the real one.
Oh.
That's the real thing.
Oh, shit.
And so he never told me what we were doing. And that started that whole relationship with the skull and me.
So you felt it before you ever met it, huh?
Oh, and instantly I was connected. And for the next years, I would be on tour traveling around the United States teaching. And I would get this feeling and I would see the skull. And I would call Anna. And she knew it was me on the phone, not because of the caller ID, because there wasn't any on I was calling from a payphone,
yeah,
you know, back with a card at that time. And she said, the skull will see you in 2 days.
Wow.
And that's basically all she would say. Hi, how you doing? The skull will see you in 2 days. Okay, you know, I could be in Ohio somewhere, you know, or in Texas somewhere, and I would just say, yes, ma'am. And I would just haul butt, and I would get to her house in Canada to be with the skull.
Wow.
And it was part of this relationship, guys, with the skull, where the skull would just be with me. She let me do things with the skull that she never let anybody else do.
Yeah,
that's and I didn't know any of that because I'm just me.
Said.
You know, she let me pick up the skull and walk around with it and be alone with it for periods of time, long periods of time, and mess around with it. I used sound and tuning forks all around it and on it, and ran laser through it, light, all types of things. And she said the skull just loves you and just enjoys you. Just do whatever you know. It's all.
She
good.
Knew you was connected.
So, oh yeah, oh yeah. So you're right, Nick, in that the prophecy idea of the skulls being a part of helping us move towards unity consciousness. Okay? But it's not with information. Information is the after effect. Have you ever had the experience yourselves, you guys, an aha? You're on a job site and you're stuck trying to figure something out. You don't know what the heck to do, how to get out of the situation you're in, and you get away from it for a minute, and all of a sudden you have an aha.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then a moment after the aha, then you know how to get out of the situation. You know how to solve the problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Right? And we've all had those experiences.
Oh yeah.
So it's the information, what you guys did after the aha, is the information that people are talking about with the skull, with all the skulls. That's not really that important. Yeah, that gets the job done. But what's really important for all of us, is that moment of aha, the oh wow, because in that moment it just takes the form of, how do I fix this on this job? How do I take care of this? You know, what am I going to do now in my life? Okay, those are the after effects. But the moment of the aha is an abstract state of consciousness, a very high, lofty, abstract state, that the skulls, each of them is a portal into this realm, a field of energy.
Yeah.
And each of them is a little bit different, just like each of us are a little bit different.
Yeah.
So as you merge into this energy with the skull, as the skull will welcome you into it, to the degree that you're able to relax into it, it allows you to not download, not get information. It allows you to be a part of this energy. It allows you to be a part of this presence. And then it's for you to be able to take that and go, okay, I'm going to go do this. I'm going to go do that. People confuse that with a download or information, when what they really should be paying attention to is that state, the aha. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Here on the show, you know, we've talked about everything that's going on as far as consciousness stuff, and I've been talking about a point that I feel like is coming, which is a critical mass point where everybody's going to have that aha moment and realize that everything is connected. It's like so many people are coming conscious now I feel like there's a critical mass point where even all the sleepies, as I would say, are suddenly awakened. Is that the type of like aha feeling that you've been about?
Yes. And this aha moment happens individually, and it also happens collectively. And that's what you're
I'm referring to a collective aha. I feel like it's coming pretty soon.
Yeah. And we're not there yet. I mean, but we're moving as individuals so that we can be forerunners. We can forge the path. We can wave the flags and go, hey, this way.
Yeah.
My last
episode, I believe it's the last one, is called The Process. And so, when I had my aha or awakening, I had a lot of work that I still had to do on myself, healing myself, and stuff like that. And so, how I was talking about it is, the process, just waking up is the beginning, and try to give everybody the idea of not thinking everything is going to be, heaven on earth, like out of nowhere. There's a process that everybody, the earth, each individual, and the collective will have to go through of healing and helping each other, and reconnecting to who we are and what we're supposed to be doing here.
And there's some really interesting principles at work here. Part of us moving into this aha collectively, part of us moving into this great awakening, is wrestling between lower consciousness human issues,
the Matrix,
and the Matrix, right, exactly, and having visions of universal principles.
Yeah, I feel like everybody's downloading right now while they're sleeping, as you would say.
Right. And so there's a great conflict between how society has constructed itself since World War II, guys. When you study the history of it, and universal principles. There are universal harmonies, principles. They're not really laws. That's really an incorrect term. But they're principles that are at work that govern the planets. So they revolve around the sun, the cells of your body, the way the galaxies formed, all of this.
Like natural law.
Principles. Pardon me?
Like natural law.
Natural law. Exactly, Alex. So as we begin to really see how we can transpose our insights into natural law into society today, into our own species, how we behave, then we take steps incrementally, like climbing a staircase, towards universal law, universal principle, towards this natural law, towards this great awakening. But, as you can tell, just in the last couple years, there's just been this huge upheaval of arguing, fighting, drama, trauma, lies, deception, all of this different stuff at multiple different levels. And it's really okay, even though it's very unpleasant, because it's part of what I've been teaching for a number of years, is that everything that has been hidden in the world of religions, of the government, of finance, everything that has been hidden will be revealed.
Yeah.
And part of that is the skulls, the revelation of the skulls, without a word being spoken about the skulls, their connection, their oscillation, they're just broadcasting.
Yeah.
And that energy, without ever anybody even really knowing about it, is forming a platform or a foundation through which this elevation in consciousness is allowed to occur.
So it seems like the skulls is one more piece of a lot of pieces between the planets and everything else. It's kind of accumulated here for like all of this now. So it's like one more piece to the puzzle per se.
Yes. And now, if we can take that idea and take it out another level, if the world is a matrix, a simulation, a holograph, and if each one of us is the center of our own universal holograph, okay, then the metaphor, the symbolism of the crystal skulls being revealed, all that's happening in the world today, the arguing, the fighting, the goodness, all of it that's going on today is all symptomatic of each one of us going through a great change, a great catharsis where we're waking up, and we're grumpy about waking up because we've been asleep for a couple thousand years, and we don't want to wake up. I don't want to get up. I don't want to do any of this, but we're waking up, and this is the world that you get. So part of that is the communication system. Like, look at this. I mean, we get to communicate to people around the world right now from our respective homes. This is awesome.
Does it get much better?
And I mean, when I first started doing this, I was traveling 50 to 60,000 miles every year on the ground, let alone when I was flying, going to Australia, going to different parts of the world, teaching, lecturing. I mean, it was a nonstop rock and roll tour, and it's just, this is so much nicer. I get to grab a cup of coffee, come into the office, flip a few switches, and here we go.
Yeah.
Talk to the world. See, this shows that we're making great progress. We're able to connect with each other. We're able to talk. We're able to share ideas freely.
I've been referring to the internet.
This is an incredible thing.
As an artificial intelligence grid.
That's right. Yeah, you just
artificial consciousness grid.
AI. Yeah, that's another whole. Oh man.
On the show here, I've basically been saying the same thing to people, cut off your TV and disconnect from all that jazz, because the way light wins over darkness is bringing the darkness to light. And so that's why if you turn on your TV, it's all bad, bad, bad. But that is actually a great thing, because that's how light wins over darkness.
That's right. We're all very susceptible to the influences around us. And
for sure.
As you know, when people start hanging out with people if you hang out with a group of people that have bad habits, then pretty soon you begin to pick up bad habits. And if you hang out with people that have good habits, then you begin to pick up good habits.
That's correct.
It's the same way if you hang out with your TV and listen to all of that's coming at you, plus what you don't even know, all the levels of subliminal information being thrown at you, and you're just sucking it up because you're just wide open. Mm-hmm. You have to use discernment. You have to put on your thinking cap, as my mother would have said, and just pay attention. We watch a few shows here and there, just to kick back and enjoy some things. I love watching Ancient Aliens. I love Gaiam TV. I watch some of the programs there. Greg Braden, and people like that. I enjoy what they're pursuing. But by far, oh my gosh, when you put on network TV, when you put on regular TV, you're just throwing yourself right into the propaganda carnival.
Yeah.
You're opening yourself up to whatever they throw at you with no resistance.
You are. Yeah, that's right. And people don't know. People have no clue. And it's powerful stuff. So, part of the culmination of my experiences with the Anna Mitchell Hedges skull came in early 1996, the last year of my experiences, where upon arrival at Anna's house, she said the skull wants to be with you. And she was pretty serious. And she was usually light, and happy. The skull wants to be with you. So she disappeared into the kitchen. And so I'm holding the skull, and the skull literally leaves its body. I'm holding the physical skull. The skull leaves its body, comes right towards me, and I'm looking right into the eyes of the skull, and then it turns, and then it moves right into my cranium.
Whoa.
And I thought I was going to fall down. And I literally, and I'm still holding the skull, and my equilibrium was off. I felt like I had been shot out of a cannon, and just like the deepest psychedelic trip you can imagine. And
Wow.
Then all of a sudden, about 15 seconds later, it was all over, and it was crystal clear. But I was looking through the eyes of the skull, as well as my own eyes. And when the skull looks at you, all the skull sees is like the universe.
Yeah.
It sees beautiful dots of light that are all connected, like this web. Each of us is a web
Yeah.
of beautiful, glowing, vibrating strings of light. And like Carlos Castaneda wrote years ago in his books, each of us are luminous beings.
That's right. We're just
Luminous beings. And
Man,
so
we really
the
got to
skull-
do a documentary on this issue. There's none out there.
Oh, we are. It's on.
Oh man, I mean, I could do 8 hours with you on all this. I mean, and so
Well, me and Alex has already
From
been
that
talking
point
about a
on-
documentary.
I'm sorry, man. What?
Said me and Alex has already been talking about doing a documentary.
Cool. All right. Yeah. Well, since that point on, I've been seeing through the eyes of the skull continuously, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether I'm at the market, whether I'm here with you, whether I'm with my kids or my grandkids, or it doesn't matter what I'm doing. The skull and the eye and me are one.
That's amazing.
So, and again, it's that abstract field that I merged with, and I was available to, and for years and years now, it's just been me processing this, assimilating this, being able to express this. I hope I'm expressing all this in an adequate way.
Yeah, very
Because
adequate.
it's good,
Yeah.
because it's out there.
It
It's
is.
just out there.
I can't wait to meet one myself.
So that
We just met one right now.
there you go. You're basically talking to one right now. And that's funny, Alex, because after that time in 1996, when I would go teaching, traveling somewhere, people would see me for the very first time, and a number of people said that they didn't see me, they saw a skull.
Wow.
They saw a crystal skull, and they had no idea that I had been with the amateur hedges skull.
Damn.
That's
So
amazing.
people would walk right up to me after talking and say, that's kind of creepy. I saw this skull thing and you right there. And, well, yeah, he's right there.
That's awesome. That's proof. That's proof in the pudding right there.
It was. Oh, and my granddaughter, Julia, she was very little. When she was very little, she liked skulls, like little kids will like skulls. And Yolanda, my wife, got her a cool skull ring, right?
Yeah.
And this is when she's like a year and a half or 2 years old. And she looked at the picture on the skull ring, and she looked at my wife, Yolanda. They call her Amma. They said, Amma, that's Pop-Pops.
Oh,
Pop-Pops.
wow.
And this is when she could barely talk. Pop-Pops.
I mean,
Looking at the picture of the skull.
so
I
when she
know it
looked at the
wasn't
skull,
just
she
my
actually saw you
imagination.
in the skull, not even the skull.
Right.
Wow.
I mean, that's just cool stuff.
Kids
Cool
are
stuff.
the truest form of, and the closest form to the spirit realm there is. So, it makes a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah. It does. That was very fun.
So,
So where do you want to go from here?
I've heard of with the prophecy is talking about the rainbow, the prophecy of the rainbow ones per se. And we did an episode called The Star Children, which is like indigo, crystal, and rainbow being children, the wave starting now, like 0 to 7 years old. Do you have any knowledge or any reference with that?
These are labels, whether you call them star children,
Yeah.
star seeds.
That's what we do as humans.
Rainbow children, crystal children. These are all designations that people use to categorize different waves of incarnation.
Yeah.
People, beings like us that are coming in that have particular types of qualities. And I can certainly see the differences between generations and waves of people coming in.
Yeah, for sure.
But, I think people pay too much attention to all of that stuff. And I think that when we really just love our children and really just care for them and just help them be who they are rather than who we think they should be, provide a medium through which they can explore, and become whatever it is that they're all about, because they're what's to come. Let them be without our limitations. Let them be without our concepts.
I agree.
Let them discover.
That's why
Make sense, guys?
Yeah, that's why I think it's kind of good for like some of the parents just to have a little bit of information on that, because these kids are so different. Society is wanting to label these kids as autistic and drug them up, and if the parents aren't informed and they're beating them down, they're not realizing that they're programming them into this human mind frame with language and all this other stuff, and they're kind of beyond that. They're telepathic. They're like original blueprint of like what we're supposed to be.
You know that if Nikola Tesla and Albert Einstein were born into this time, they'd both immediately be thrown on tons of medication.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Right. And the world would be a completely different place.
It's a fact.
Because Einstein flunked math. He just stunk at math when he was a kid, because he was way abstract. He's way out here, and math was down here when you were a little kid, right? Yeah. Learning the basic fundamental things. He was terrible at it. And Tesla was such a genius. He thought that everything was just stupid in school. Tesla spoke, 9 different languages fluently, and he could talk about 17 different languages, and had such a huge grasp of things. And this is all before he was even 20 years old.
That's crazy.
That he thought everything was ridiculous and mundane, foolish. And, oh no, they would have had him on tons of medication right away, because he was... They were both very eccentric personalities. They're both not going to be controlled, not going to be dominated. So... And you're right. I think it's great that we can educate parents and help them grasp the idea that the kids that are coming in are not going to be thinking out of the left brain. They're not going to be World War II generation kind of thinking of people. They're going to be very abstract, very right brain.
Yeah.
That's why it's important to immerse them in music, in art, in nature,
creativity.
Huge nature. To let nature teach them, let music teach them, let their own artistry come out.
I couldn't agree more with that.
That's great. That's good. That's really cool.
We have heard. I'd heard one theory on the creation of the skulls that they held 1,000 years worth of information, and that in the tribe a child would be picked as a baby, and the grandmother and the baby, they basically would teach this kids 1,000 years worth of information, and that they would do a ceremony at a certain point, basically when all the knowledge was given to the grandmother and the child, and they would do basically like a lethal dose of psychedelics with the ceremony for the for the souls to enter the skulls.
There's a whole lot of language there that we would, if we had more time, we could focus in and discuss. But let's try to consolidate this. And yes, there were ceremonies. And remember, the skull isn't information as much as it is the source through which all information is arrived at. It's
so
the
it's
aha.
conscious.
So what happens is, yes, it's a portal to this universal knowledge, the Akasha, whatever you would call
the
it.
Akasha. Okay, yeah.
Nice.
And so how each child will specialize that and interpret that makes them the prophet of their clan at that time, their village. Because each medicine person will be a little bit different as generations go on. Make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. And so, but what the Maya said to Anna was that it was time to take the skull to the world, meaning that instead of just passing that information down to one person, it was to be made as a quantum state available to everyone as we make ourselves available to it. Just like you said, the big massive, what would Terence McKenna call it? The Hail Mary dose of psychedelics or something, you know. And you're
the heroic
in
dose.
Space where, you're just out there, and you're trained. You're not doing it blind. You know what you're doing, and you dissolve. Basically, you dissolve, and you become totally empty of yourself, so that you can fill with this abstract that you've accessed through the skull.
Like transcending or ascending into.
As that occurs, this is going to occur for everyone, not just every person, but every animal, every plant, everything in our matrix, in our holograph, as everyone begins to wake up.
Do you have any predictions on that
So
timeline?
does that speak to that a little bit?
No, I was saying, do you
Say
have
that-
any
say that one more
predictions
time?
on how long what you feel that how long that may take to get to that point?
Yeah. We're in an accelerated time period right now where things are moving much more quickly because of events that have gone on in the world to show that we're willing to make a bold change. We're willing to do things. And to me, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And change isn't always pretty. Change isn't always pleasant. But if we're going to reveal everything that is hidden, if we're going to cast light where there's darkness, you're going to reveal yuck.
True.
And that's what's going on now in really all aspects of our world, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, in answer to your question specifically, as you look into the future, just as Yoda said to Luke Skywalker many years ago, the future is filled with emotion. It's unclear, meaning that our destination, our natural and inevitable destination, is certain. But how we get there and the journey along the way is as we move through the present moment, guys, we're like we move up from the trunk of a tree into many branches. The branches are different probable realities where there's different possibilities.
So kind of what
really
you tune
depends
in.
upon how we each and how we all collectively navigate ourselves through these possibilities and choices that we make as citizens of a country, as citizens of a world, as individuals, as parents of children. All of these levels of decisions that we make affect the collective and how we navigate ourselves into this possibility. So if we made the right decisions, within a year from right now, within 1 year from right now, we could be in a world with free energy, where everybody has access to replicators, where there's no more factory work, there's no more manufacturing, where working in construction is a completely different experience, where we're building glorious dwellings and amazing structures and having these amazing experiences with sacred geometry and harmonics and overtones in architecture, and connecting us to the star system, and just a point where there's no death, there's no sickness, all of these things. You could do that in 1 year. 1 year from right now, and as we would make that alchemical jump, that quantum leap, all the contamination all over the earth would just be gone like that. Because as you reach a certain threshold frequency, that doesn't survive anymore.
That's right.
That doesn't exist anymore. It's all gone. All the contaminants are gone. Everything is gone. Everything is reset back to a beautiful, pristine Garden of Eden kind of a idea. Okay? So that can
what
happen
you're saying is what I'm hearing from everyone else too. So I know that it's true.
He didn't hear you.
Yeah. Just forgive my language, but depending upon how butt-headed we are as a people, we could postpone this for a couple hundred years and go through a couple hundred years like,
I guess that's why we just keep doing what we do to help speed up that process.
You're right. You're right. So I've been doing this for 30 years now. So I just keep going. I keep moving one foot in front of the other. And I just know that I want to do the best I can to forge a path for all of those who come after me, just like you guys.
That's right.
Exactly. And here we are.
That's right. That's funny that everything I kind of talk about on the podcast here, I break everything down to frequencies because it seems to be the most basic form that we are, and I've been trying to let people know that you emit a frequency, like from your thoughts and your feelings. And so your thought actually manipulates your reality. And so learning how to control your thoughts and what's coming and going through your head is inevitably shaping the world that we have here in front of us.
It does, because the world, that's right. That's very good. Here's a great way to grasp that for everybody that's watching. And this gives everybody a different way of looking at this thing that we call consciousness, okay? And so everybody really grasp this one. Consciousness has been misunderstood by people. The word's been misused. The idea is misunderstood completely. Consciousness never changes. Consciousness is a sea in which we're immersed of limitless possibilities. Call it the morphogenic field, call it the field, it's consciousness. The Tibetans call it the ocean of love and mercy. It's like an ocean of limitless drops that are inseparable from one another, the ocean.
That's right.
Limitless possibilities. So what gives consciousness that never changes and has no definition, its form, is our perception. And David Icke's been saying now for about 10 years, that we're all perceivers. And that's true. That's straight out of Buddhism, straight out of Hinduism, straight out of all the ancient teachings. As we perceive this field of energy, so it appears to be. But it's just an appearance, a holograph, a simulation. And what is it showing you? It's showing you yourself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This is the world that I am. This is the world that I am. The good, the bad, and the ugly. Yep. It's all you. This is the ultimate form of personal responsibility. Wow, it's all me.
Yep, that's how
consciousness never changes. What changes is our perception of consciousness. So all you have to do is shift your perception.
It's the secret.
Do you think you're a sinner? Do you think you're a bad person? Do you think you're, not worthy of fulfillment, not worthy of love, not worthy of success? Do you think you're talented, brilliant, wonderful, loving, insightful? However you see yourself will be broadcast right out here into the world.
Yep.
It's what I like to call the secret.
It is. It's true. It's true, man.
So, let's see, we've covered the prophecy. Have you seen the National Geographic episode on the skulls? It's like a documentary.
Go ahead. I think I did. I've seen so many different episodes.
They only had
things.
They only had like one logical person interview on it, and he referred to Atlantis and being connected to the skulls during the time of Atlantis, and they actually kind of explained it how you did about the skulls sitting in certain places in the wall.
The Great Pyramid, right?
Yeah. And then the other half, they were just kind of blowing it off and doing stupid things. They did prove, that they can't duplicate them, even though they can make one that looks like it. You can't, when you zoom in on it, it's all rough edges from all the duplicates.
That's correct.
But inevitably, at the end, they were shining lasers on it, and the guy said, if I can't see anything shining through the other side of the skull, then obviously it doesn't contain anything.
It's just, it is astounding, the closed-mindedness of the majority, and I can say that comfortably. I wanted to think about it for a moment, but the majority of conventional scientists that are out there that you think would love to stumble upon something that they can't explain. Wouldn't you think that a scientist would love a real mystery?
You would think so.
Wait a minute, what is this thing? It's like, good God, what is this? But oh no, we have to just poo-poo on everything and just explain it away, even if your explanation is wrong.
I mean, that's not even a real approach to science, using the scientific method. If you're going in a subject trying to prove it wrong, that's not even science.
And they tested a replica, which wasn't even the actual real crystal skull anyway. So.
Right. I think I do remember seeing that. Yes, and I probably even shut it off. Yolanda and I were watching it, and we probably just got so frustrated, I just wanted to shut it off.
Yeah, I imagine you would on something like that.
Ugh.
So
how about some questions, comments from anybody? Are people interested in what we're talking about here this evening? What do you guys think?
I haven't asked anybody any questions. Any guys watching live have any questions you would like to ask? I know, what was I going to say? You did a thing back in 96, which was a beacon.
That's right.
Would you like to speak on that? Beacon. Yeah, that's correct. Would you like to inform our listeners on this?
That was really the crescendo. That was really the big finish line for my experiences with Anna Mitchell Hedges and the Crystal Skull. Months before that is when I had that experience of the skull merging with me, turning and moving into my cranium. Yeah. Remember we spoke about that one? Mm-hmm. Right, which changed everything. And when I left Anna's home at that point, I went back on tour, traveling out to the West Coast in Canada, then down into the U.S. and around. And I was getting these pictures. The skull was just talking to me from within myself. It was like me talking to me. And the skull was showing me that it wanted me to construct this piece of geometry. So I begin to build this geometry as I'm on the road. I am sleeping basically either at people's homes or in hotels or in the back of my van on a futon if I'm traveling and teaching. And I have my contracting tools with me, so I go to Home Depot or Lowe's and I buy a bunch of copper and I begin building this geometry. And because I understand sacred geometry really well and music, acoustics, wavelength things, it was all making sense, but yet I didn't really know what I was doing. I just knew that this is what I needed to do. So I'm building this device, and by the time I assembled it, I got it pretty much together. I had it strapped to the back of my van, And when I came to customs at Detroit to go into Windsor, to cross into Canada, customs looked at that. It was about 6 feet tall. It was a big octahedron. Okay. And it had internal chambers built in it, all out of copper. I mean, you should have seen this thing. It was amazing. Well, you saw it. You saw the videos of it.
Yeah, we did.
And the customs officer looked at me and said, "Mr. Timms, what is that on the back of your van?" And I said, "I'm an artist." Oh, and he said, "Oh, well, enjoy Windsor, Mr. Timms." So then I just proceeded on through. And, what am I going to say? No, I'm building this for the Crystal Skull.
I'm building a crystal beacon.
Officer? I mean, right. You can imagine this. So, no. So then I proceed on. I taught in Windsor, and then I proceeded on to Anna Mitchell Hedges' home. And I had told her what the skull wanted me to do, and she said, "Yes, I know," because she was, of course, tuned into the skull. And so she had told a few friends, of her close relationship to the skull, but it got out on the Skull Inner hotline, and by the day that this event was going to happen, we had 120 some people that showed up at this event.
Wow!
And it was like a Woodstock.
Yeah,
there were people doing healing work, all kinds of booths. Everybody was set up doing all kinds of things. We set up hay bales, for people to sit on, and we had this amazing property where we were going to do this, and the ley lines and the grid work on the property were just perfect. I mean, the skull just orchestrated the whole thing.
Yeah. And
so this event called the Celestial Beacon, which you guys can, everybody can watch the video. It's up on YouTube. Was built for the Crystal Skull, this compound piece of geometry, a 3-sided transmitter pyramid with a big octahedron suspended in the middle. Then there were 2 other big pyramids that you saw in the video that have the crystals that I'm caretaker for. And these crystals are Mr. Light and Mr. Sound. Yeah. And Mr. Light is a 110-pound double terminated crystal. And Mr. Sound is his little brother, who's a mere 90 pounds, and they each had their respective pyramids on energy spots on this great property that we were on.
Yeah.
And so I set up the geometry, set up the grid, and then the skull wanted me to play a specific recipe of sounds with crystal bowls. And so we were up on top of this ridge, and everyone was sitting around us, and we chanted and played these bowls. And what it did for the skull, which I didn't know what it was going to do. I just knew that was what I was asked to do from within myself with the skull. Yeah. Right? So I'm just doing. And what it did is it unlocked a series of gates within the skull. And people who could see energy, not just me, but people who could see energy, said that there were literally plumes of energy shooting up out of the tops of the pyramid as I was playing each tone.
Wow. And
the skull was just broadcasting all these frequencies. And basically it was subtitled E.T. Phone Home. It was like nice. The skull is E.T. phoning home. It was telling the ethers in the holograph, the deepest aspects of ourselves, like the ETs, the ancient Maya, who are extraterrestrials, that, hey, there is intelligent life down here.
Yeah.
We're beginning to get with the program.
Beginning to remember.
Beginning to remember. And it was just a spectacular day. And that event, guys, was the last time that I ever saw Anna Mitchell Hedges or the skull. I mean, it was amazing. We were there all day. And people visited with the skull until late into the evening with Anna, and everyone was wonderful and respectful of Anna's time, as a older lady and all of that. And she looked at me and she said, "The skull is very, very happy."
You done what you're supposed to do.
Boom, we went on our way.
Nailed it.
That's awesome.
Nailed it. That's right. Nailed it. That's very well put. Very well put.
Are you still?
And I thought, go ahead.
Are you still? Do you have Mr. Light and Mr. Sound? Are you still caretaking?
Oh yeah, Mr. Light and Mr. Sound are in my backyard. One, Mr. Light is underneath a big, a beautiful orange tree, and Mr. Sound is underneath just a nice pine tree that he wants to be under right now. They love being in nature, and they love doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
And they carry all the information of the crystal skull, not the information. Again, the information is the after effect. They they have all of the download of the merging of the crystal skulls in each of them. And whenever I would teach live, I'd bring them with me, and people would charge all their crystals and touch Mr. Light and Mr. Sound and just kind of splash into all that.
Yeah, sweet. How did you become caretaker of these two, or how?
I used to have a business years ago. I grew up in Wilmington, Delaware, and I used to drive to Hot Springs, Arkansas in my pickup truck, and I could buy a truckload of crystals from the mines, right out of the mines in Arkansas, for $2,000, and you could drive that truck of crystals back to Philadelphia or Delaware, where I was from, and sell it for $5,000-$6,000.
Sweet.
Sight unseen. Just buy them all, because people knew me, and they knew that I was being honest in that these were right from the mines, and people would look at them and go, "Wow, this is awesome!" Boom, and then they would retail them out to their places, and it was still better pricing than if they had bought them themselves from distributors. Does that make sense?
Yeah, from a retail.
I would sell them to stores and all that. So while I was there, making a long story short for you guys, I'll just make it as fast as possible. I was driving down outside of Hot Springs to what's called Mount Ida, another place that has great crystal mines. And on the left-hand side of my vision, there was an old, dilapidated building called the Rocky Mountain Crystal Shop, and it looked like Jed and Ellie Mae Clampett's place in the sticks. And it was like I was falling down. And as I was driving past it, didn't think anything of it, just an old rock souvenir shop or something. Okay, I'm just driving past it. Mr. Light and Mr. Sound literally left their bodies, because they were at his store. I didn't see them. They left their bodies, and they looked like the Raisinette commercials from years and years ago, where these big crystals were dancing literally in front of the windshield of my truck, going, "Turn around, come back, you have to see us." And I had no idea. So I slam on the brakes in the truck. My friend Steve is beside me, and I about put him through the windshield. He goes, "What the hell's wrong with you?" Yeah. I said, "I don't know." And so we swing around, and as we get out of the truck, here on either side of the front door to this building, are these two crystals, Mr. Light and Mr. Sound. And they were just sitting there on either side of the front door of this crystal shop. And when you walked into this dilapidated store, and I mean dilapidated, guys, it looked like you were walking into the Smithsonian Institute of Quartz Crystals. You see stuff there that you won't see anywhere else in the world. I mean, at that time, it was unbelievable what you saw. And the man's name was Garland, and Garland Milhausen. And I asked him to make, again, this long story short, I said, "Can I purchase those crystals from you?" And he said, "Oh, no. I could never sell you those crystals, young man." You know, I was 28 at that point. And he said, "My wife and I mined them ourselves. We found them in 1933. And I said, "When did you find them?" 1933. That's the same year Anna Mitchell Hedges found the crystal skull.
Wow.
Isn't that cool?
Had to get it.
And so 1933. And he said, no, I could never sell those crystals. That's kind of like my wife and I, you know, we found them and they stay with us right there. And we've had this store ever since then, 1930 something. He started that business.
Sweet.
I said, okay. So I went home. I went back to the hotel with Steve thinking, okay, well, you know, we're just going to get our crystals, our other stuff and go, you know, but the crystals came to me all night. No, you know, and so I get up before sunrise and I yelled over to Steve. I said, "Get up. We got to go back to see Garland." He goes, "No, we're not going to see Garland. It's freezing outside. No one's going to sell us these crystals. He's, you know, I said, we're going. Get in the truck. So we go, and we got there before dawn. And there was a light on in his shop, and there was smoke coming out of the wood-burning stove stack up at the top. So we stopped, and the door was unlocked. It's got to be 6 o'clock in the morning. The door's open, walk in. He's sitting in his rocking chair, and he's just looking at me, and he points his finger at me, and he says, "Son, I don't know who you are, but I'm going to remember you for the rest of my life. Let's pack up those crystals."
Oh. Wow. God.
That, and not exaggerating.
Is that all he said to you?
I mean, that's exactly. So he wrote the paper as to where, with the latitude and longitude and the date they were mined, and signed it, everything. We crated him up, put him in the truck, brought Mr. Light and Mr. Sound home.
Did you ever get
How's
any
that?
information out of him as
That's
to what he's seen?
I asked him, and he never told me why. But when he shook hands, he showed me his left hand, and his left hand had a 33rd degree Mason's ring on. A 33rd degree.
Wow.
And never said a word. Never said a word.
It's very interesting.
Oh yeah, but I visited with him a number of times after that when I would go back to Hot Springs, and he was always quite, wonderful, just a wonderful older guy. And but no, Mr. Light and Mr. Sound are right here, and they're going to be right here.
Do you ever take
fun.
them out with you anywhere?
On tour.
Sweet.
Yeah, whenever I do a weekend intensive, or I do something, I bring them. I brought them to North Carolina. I was at the Black Mountain at the retreat center, the YMCA retreat center, in October, and I brought them there. Everybody loved seeing them, being with them.
Are you coming back up this way anytime soon?
I'd love to. This is my 30th year anniversary kind of thing, and I'd like to be able to put together some dates to do fun things. Yeah. And I used to teach a lot in Asheville, of course, Black Mountain, those surrounding areas. And no, we'd love to come up to your area.
Pam told us.
Beautiful.
Pam Yuntz informed us.
Pardon?
That Pam Yuntz informed us that one of the skulls comes around every year to Tennessee, Johnson City, Tennessee.
Max.
Yeah.
Max. And
That's Max. Yeah.
And so we're kind of looking forward to going and meeting it this year when he comes around.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes, just be really empty when you just go be with Max. Hold no expectation. If you do plan medicine, do a real small dose of when you're with Max. Make sense?
Small dose of what?
It cut out there a minute for some reason. Can you repeat that?
Medicine, any kind of psychedelia.
Oh, okay.
Anything that, if you guys do any event, anything that will alter you and get your personality out of the way, because that's what you want.
Yeah.
Because you come to an event like that and you're excited, you're anticipating what's going on, and you don't want to do that.
I gotcha.
But of course, that's natural.
Yeah, for sure. I think we have a question here. A viewer asked, "Can you find out if the crystal skull wants to spend time with you or anyone else?" Didn't you say it's kind of people are more drawn to it? It's not like something you seek, something that seeks you.
Yes, and things will just kind of unfold for you to have the opportunity. Like Max came to within 20 miles of my front door, and I had never really even heard of Max. I'm kind of immersed in my own experience with the Hedges, Anna Mitchell Hedges skull, and doing my own work, right? Living my life. And now here's Max, and so it just unfolded for us to go see Max. And then Yolanda, my wife, really loved being with Max, and she thought, God, I'd love to go see Max again. So you make appointments, and you pay money for a session to go sit privately with Max. So I tried to get her another appointment, couldn't get any appointments because they were all booked out. And then she got a call back that said somebody just quit, just had to withdraw their appointment, but they left it paid for. So if someone wants the appointment, it's already paid for, the time's already reserved, and you can have it. So wow. Yolanda flies up there and just has her second experience, with Max. So the skulls arrange all of this stuff for you. Like the red carpet just kind of unfolds when it's in the flow for you to have that. So if they're in your area, if it's close to you, pay attention and see how things structure themselves for you guys to be able to go have the experience.
Right.
Make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Perfect.
We had one viewer asked if you were Freemason.
No.
He couldn't tell you if he was.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't tell you.
If I tell you, I have to kill you.
Great, Alex. Oh, God. And the Masons, for the most part, the lower degrees, the lower 32 degrees, are usually just good people doing good things in society, wanting to have a good benefit in the world. Yeah. It's the inner circles, the 33rd and the above, that you don't hear about in the regular Masons lodges, that are all connected into the ancient lodges, into the the different groups that we could talk about that for 8 hours too, but I think you understand where I'm going.
Yeah.
It seems what I've been learning is the Masons are actually just been teaching everything we're talking about these days.
Yeah, the real Masons, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
It was all secret. And
now everything that is secret or hidden is being revealed.
Yeah, it's brought to the light. Transparency.
That's right. That's right. Exactly.
Do you have any books out or anything people could follow up some more information?
I don't really I don't have any books, but I have endless amounts of material on my website. Yeah, there's a lot of free material, free lectures, teachings for people to watch and view. My YouTube channel, Christopher Tim's Practical Mystic, and people can go in and on that, everybody, I don't hold back any of my commentary on anything that's happening at any level in life, spiritual, financial, political, any different level. I talk about everything in relation to universal or natural law. And so that's there. Every Monday night I teach, and it's free to the world. We have people from all over the world on the calls every Monday night. And you can find out about all of that just from my website, ChristopherTims.com.
So you can get the access to all the shows and everything you have directly from your website?
Oh, yeah. And then there's ongoing workshops, teacher programs. It depends upon where someone wants to go.
Yeah.
I've got a number of different themes and directions. I've been a vegan for 35 years. I've been a competitive athlete, martial artist, marathon runner, natural bodybuilder all of my life. I'm 60 tomorrow. Tomorrow's my birthday, guys.
Right on. You're looking awesome.
So
happy 60. Birthday. Oh, and I seen you in the 90s video. You was ripped up, man.
Yeah, the Celestial Beacon.
That's pretty fun. Thanks.
You was looking right. Your muscles and your tank top.
My wife.
Hair.
Pardon me?
I said in the Celestial Beacon video, you had on your tank top and your muscles and your long hair. It was great.
My wife told me to cut all my hair because I began to look like a homeless man. So, what are you going to do?
That was your intuition.
Right. Oh, I know. But I'll tell you what, having short hair after having long hair all those years is so easy. Oh, it's so nice.
Hell yeah.
Pam mentioned something about sound tables that you make.
Oh yeah, that came directly from the crystal skull. There were two things that came directly from the skull after that merging experience, not just the celestial beacon, but with the celestial beacon. Then I immediately had this whole picture of how to build a massage table from scratch because I've grown up in the trades. And I built a whole massage table from scratch, and I include a whole sound system built into it with transducers, speakers, EQ, the whole thing. Nice. And I've been building them ever since 1996 on to now, and I improve it every year. There's a new generation. They're called Magic Carpet Sound Tables, so it's directly from the crystal skull. And the second was there was a workshop that I started doing right after that celestial beacon that I'd never done before, called the opening of the gates. And the opening of the gates, people would come and be with me for a weekend, and I would literally step into their energy field. We would touch forehead to forehead, and through that merging, it was like opening someone up, like I'm a spiritual can opener. And it would literally just lift people right up. It was just the coolest thing to be doing.
Wow.
And it just all came, how to do it, what it was all about, all came from the celestial beacon.
So these sound tables sound like they are fixing frequencies.
Oh, they're great. Yes, that's exactly what it's about. And I have them all over North America and in people's homes, people who are energy workers, chiropractors, massage therapists, physical therapists. A lot of people like them for different things, and people just have them in their homes to enjoy sound and vibration and frequency. Their own soundscaping. That's what they do.
That's pretty awesome.
They're great.
It seems to be
they're fun.
Seems to be amazing at some of the information that certain people has received after being around or in contact with the skulls.
Absolutely.
Tomorrow we're going to have Pam Yuntz on the show, and we're going to go over her experiences with the skull and her studies with her 3D aura imaging and how it shows how the skulls affect each other or affect you just by being around them. So this is part 1 of 2 about the crystal skulls. And so it was very, very awesome to have you tell us some stuff instead of me chopping it all up.
Yeah, it was an honor. It was definitely an honor.
Oh, you're very kind, and it's just great hanging with both of you. You're both wonderful people, and it's just great talking with you about something that's really fun that I haven't really spoken about too much in the last couple of years. I've been focused in other areas, and it's nice to bring this back up to the forefront.
Well, like you said, it drawn us to it. That drawn us to the VHS, was drawn to you, that's drawn us to everything about it.
The whole situation with meeting Pam and hunting down the VHS and everything that got us to this point, every single bit of it just come out of nowhere, to be honest with you.
That's where it all comes. When things come out of nowhere, that represents insights and experiences coming from the depths of your being, the reaches of your unconscious mind, even beyond the subconscious mind. They come as if from nowhere. It's your matrix, it's your holograph. So things that come from nowhere with no reason, like how did this happen? It comes from the unconscious, the highest reaches, the depths of your being. Cool stuff.
Yeah. Awesome.
So I guess everybody could say that we're doing what we need to be doing.
Yes, the path is easily unfolding in front of you guys. This is great. Well, thanks a lot for having me here. It's just great spending the time with you.
Oh, I've had a blast for sure. I'm gonna have to go back and listen to it again, where I've had to step out here and there.
Yeah, and in the future we'll definitely try to have you on again if you want to.
Yeah, it sounds like we could
absolutely
team up on a lot of subjects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would love to talk about anything that you'd like to go into. So
we like talking about consciousness a lot around here, and
that's it.
And try to help people as they start to awaken, or like I say, I went through a point which I like to call the dark period per se, when all the bad stuff comes to light. You know, a lot of us went through a point where we were by ourselves at that time, and there was no light at the end of the tunnel. And so here on the show, we do this to be a little bit of light for people sometimes, or maybe they're going through that darkness point, or maybe they just have a question, or things that may help them along, you know.
Trying to help them open up the gate just like you did.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. That's fantastic.
We appreciate it, man.
All right.
I hope to talk to you soon in the future.
Very good. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, we'll be in touch. I guess looks like we have all the questions taken care of.
Most people watch it later on anyway, so
yeah, this is a little early for us.
All right.
But yeah, for sure we'll be back in touch, and definitely grateful to have you. We will upload the audio and everything to the website, and so everybody will be able to listen to this on iTunes or Google Play. They'll be able to go to the website and download the audio directly from there. The video will be on Facebook and also on YouTube.
Yeah, everybody has the links. I send them all in my newsletter and post it on Facebook for you. So
sometimes
everyone will really enjoy it.
A little echo on the live feed on the videos, but just so everyone knows, the audio will be on point if you tune in on iTunes or download that off the website.
All right, it's time for dinner.
All right, man.
Thanks, Christopher.
You have a good one now, and we greatly appreciate it.
My pleasure. Take care, guys.
All right, you have a nice night, bud.
You too.
All right, guys, this is going to wrap up the show. Episode number 13, Higher Frequencies, Crystal Skulls Part 1. Tune in with us tomorrow. We'll be on early at 11 a.m. thereabouts with a guest, Pam Yuntz, on episode 14, Crystal Skulls Part 2, where we will expand on the subject more and look into a couple other insights. So we look forward to catching you guys tomorrow. You guys know the drill. You catch us on Facebook at Higher Frequencies NC. You can catch us on iTunes at Higher Frequencies. You can listen for free. Google Play also for free. Or the videos on YouTube or Facebook. I greatly enjoy everybody tuning in, and we will catch you tomorrow.
And thank you, Pam.
Yeah, thanks, Pam, for
making all this happen.
That's right. And Sage, who introduced me to Pam, who kind of got the ball rolling all this. Well, peace and love, guys. Namaste.